Welcome to Honest Combos with Karen.
And Marcia. We're longtime biz besties bringing you along for the journey of building a business and life you actually want.
No fluff, no filters, just honest conversations about the highs, the lows, and everything in between.
So grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and let's get into it.
Welcome back. Karen and I are so excited to talk to you today all about momentum and maybe redefining it in your mind. You have built momentum before, so you know how to get into it, but we wanted to slay some myths about what's needed to stay in momentum and I guess just redefine what momentum actually is in business so that there's not a lot of pressure to constantly go, create.
What I like about this topic is what we have done in the past to get us to a certain point in our business is not going to be the same thing that sustains us going forward. But it can be hard to kind of shed that old skin. I don't know why I have the image of a snake in my I hate snakes, by the way, but for some reason when I said shed skin, that came into my brain of like a snake shedding its skin because YouTube is a dangerous place and I have seen that video recently. Anyway, you have to shed some old habits, old ways of doing things, old routines. Maybe your rhythm has to shift. When you're trying to be in momentum, not get in momentum, that's a different level. Now you're in the momentum. So, how do you stay in it and not in constant motion necessarily, but just always moving towards what you're working for and having those compounding results of your effort, continuing to make more effort work? So, yeah. So, I think this is a good topic because it can be a little hard to spot when you're in those kind of patterns that aren't serving your next level. They worked well though to get you where you are. So your brain might think, why stop doing what's working? It's working just fine. It got me here. But what got you here is not necessarily what will get you there.
I love that quote because it's so true. When you sit with it for a minute, you're like, oh yeah, in the beginning, I did really need to hustle and I did need to test and refine and tweak and find out what actually was working and what was serving my clients. There is so much that goes into building that momentum, but then it's not sustainable. Like if you're always trying to do that and trying to build in your business, you're doing yourself a disservice because you're not really spending the time on making sure that the system runs well. All of that energy and excitement that you get from having a business that's actually sustainable, that's bringing money in order to keep growing, you have to be refining. And so that's why Karen and I have the offer optimization workshops. We'd love to see you at the next one. Date TBD. TBD. Date TBD. If you're on our VIP list, you'll find out when the next offer optimization workshop is. You already know what's working in your business, but you might be tempted because you are an entrepreneur and you have that creative spirit to try adding other things in to either grow your business or just out of sheer boredom. The businesses that you see succeeding are the ones who their clients and the customers have grown to expect a certain level of service, and that's what they get, and so behind the scenes, that's where the owner or the contractors or whoever it is that's working on it, that's all they're working on is fine-tuning what it is they're providing, optimizing it, as we say. So Karen, what's that bringing up for you?
Yeah, because you're constantly going to be tinkering a little bit. There's a certain level of tinker that just comes with being a solopreneur, especially because you have to do so many different things in your business. And all of them have to be working together to keep the business humming along and keep the clients happy, keep you happy as the owner because the money's coming in. So you have to always be thinking about the different parts. How are they doing? How is the system running? How are things working? And yeah, optimizing. Because if you're not, then you could fall into a kind of trap, I guess I'll call it, where things are working in your business well enough that you're not really paying attention to them, but they're not actually getting you where you want to go. Let's say you're making like 100K a year, you're sustaining your lifestyle just fine. You think, okay, it's working, but really in the back of your mind, you would really love to grow it to 300K. But if you're not intentional and not doing it with the hustle energy or the grind or all that stuff that got you to 100, but like just really intentional about the little tweaks that will continue the trajectory and keep the momentum going towards that 300, then you hit a plateau. You kind of stay, I don't want to call it stuck necessarily, but it can feel like stuck. You can feel like, why can't I break past this 100K? Why can't I get past this level? And a lot of times it is because you haven't been giving that tinker energy. It's hard because when you're a solo CEO. Like you are the CEO. We talked about this before. You are the CEO of your company of one, or even if it's like between one and five, if you have like contractors or a VA or people that kind of come in and out on different projects, whatever it might be. But you intentionally have a micro lifestyle business. You're not trying to grow the next Amazon, right? So you have a lot on your plate. And if you have constant, consistent customers, obviously that's going to be your number one, right? You have to deliver, you have to give them what they paid for, you got to make sure they have a good experience so that they refer you, that they return and buy more stuff, all that stuff. You have to be intentional to apply some, like, set aside time on your calendars and your quarterly planning, like to do a little tinkering. What do I need to tweak to get me to the next level? Because it's very easy to maintain. Maintaining is not hard. But if you're really trying to consistently scale, and scale is different than grow, we could talk about that in a different episode. But if you're trying to scale, not grow, but scale, you're going to have to intentionally tinker. And sometimes that there's no time for that because you haven't made time for that. Or you might be kind of, there might be some fear, a little bit of self sabotage of like, well, I don't want to break what's working. I don't want to mess with what's working. And it's not messing with what's working. It's taking what's working, continually taking what's working to the next level.
This is so good. And I love it because when you were mentioning tinkering, I was like, or you could just overhaul and throw everything away because that's where my mind goes, which is not what you want to do. You do not want to do that. You're going to have a feeling, like a little nudge within you that says, this could be better. And I think a lot of us are conditioned to think we should be grateful for what we have. There's so many business owners that aren't making a living wage. You look at the statistics of how many businesses are opened and how many fail within the first year to 5 years. The statistics are staggering. So there can be that background noise in your head like, I'm fine. I'm able to maintain my lifestyle. Sure, I might be working my face off during the week, but I have weekends and I have that flexibility to reschedule clients and that kind of thing. But don't prevent yourself from fine tuning things because you think that you're lucky to have what you have because you created it, right? And so, if there are systems and tools and software and contractors and masterminds and communities, if there are things that you can incorporate in your business that are going to help you to get to that next level, it's not selfish. It's not being ungrateful for what you already have. Like you're getting a nudge within you that's saying like, I could be serving more people, or I could be doing this where I have even more free time and more flexibility. And flexibility, like I feel like that's the whole point of why we're doing what we're doing. And that doesn't mean that if you're making more money that you have to work more or harder. That's what we want to impart on you, is that there are things that you can do to help automate in the background, or like maybe going from one-on-one work to group coaching, that kind of thing. That's actually something my husband, like he knows if he teaches a 3-person group for 90 minutes, he's a tennis pro. So he figured out what was the biggest bang for his buck because he gets paid a percentage of every lesson. So he's like, I want those foursomes, which, only on the tennis court, not in real life, people. Anyway, so thinking like that, when you're doing your quarterly planning, think about this. Like, you don't have to constantly be thinking, how can I optimize my business? But just whenever you start to feel or get that nudge, recognize that it's your inner CEO telling you, like, hey, dude, we got to tweak this. We got to tinker with this and make it better.
No, I love that you said that. And it popped into my brain of like, yeah, it's not about constantly refining, constantly optimizing, constantly tinkering. That's 100% not what we're saying. But what is your vision for your business? If you aren't actively maintaining the level that is the vision you had, then you're still working toward the vision. And that's where you have to be applying that intentional energy to get you to the vision. So if the business is already exactly what you wanted it to be, that's a different conversation. We would talk about a different kind of maintaining the momentum. Most people really always have a something else, right? There's always like a something a little bit more that you want to achieve, something that you're trying to do in your business. And like Marsha said, that's okay. We don't have to settle. It's not about settling or like, okay, I should be good. This should be good enough. If you want to build a business that's multiple seven figures and you have your own building and you do weekend intensives and people fly in and they come and work with you. I mean, whatever. That might be Karen's vision. So, whatever your vision is, it's making sure you're intentionally working towards that and not getting too settled in a particular rhythm in your business that isn't aligned with your vision, but you just get there and stay there because you're like, I should be good. This is good enough. I'm maintaining, my lifestyle's good. My clients are happy. I've got a small team or contractors I can trust. You feel like, okay, I've arrived. I should be good here. But there really is no finish line. There's really no destination other than whatever your vision is, but there's no, I'm done in business. I feel like you are going to be constantly, most likely, working towards something, right? Whatever that is. And so, how do you really keep that momentum going when you're not trying to break what is working, but you want to keep moving towards that grander vision that you are very much deserving to have? We're kind of conditioned to equate motion with progress. And so motion is not always progress if it's not intentional and if it's not in alignment with where you're actually trying to take things, because you'll end up somewhere. You'll do something. You'll have something going on in your business. You'll spend a lot of time. You'll be exhausted at the end of the day. But if that's not really what you wanted, it's so interesting. It was a few years ago, but there was like a mass wave of people who were like, I'm burning it all down. I'm quitting my business. I'm done. I built this whole thing and I hate it. And that can happen. Like, it's success is not how much money you're making. It's not what kind of empire you have. Success is whatever your vision is, achieving the vision. And that's why we talk about it so much, because I do feel like a lot of times I'll work with someone and they're like, I had a skill. I started a thing and here I am. And it's like, there was never any intentional crafting of like, what do I actually want to build? What do I want this business to look like? And so they'll be doing really well, making a lot of money, but they feel like they are just in a house of mirrors and it's all about to crash around them. And that's what we're trying to help you avoid, of like, you have built the thing, you are doing good stuff, and you're in momentum. Like, how do you just take that and do something intentional with it so that you don't, in a few years, want to burn down your whole business?
So good. You just were describing the rat race. And I think that is a very business oriented mindset, like big business, I look at some of the companies that I work for. There was a vice president and maybe the executive assistant who tried to keep the president away from the employees because they would come in and they would try to tinker with different departments that they had no business being in, right? Because they had people that were running those departments. I feel like that's how we're conditioned and how we're trained as people who are providing a service. It's like you have to constantly be moving up the chain and growing. And I am excited about the scaling conversation that we'll have, scaling instead of growing, because for solopreneurs, we are trying to do it different. Like, we don't buy into the fact that you need to have a company of 50 people. You have to have that stress and that cortisol pumping through your veins, that you have to make payroll every couple weeks. Like, we are creating something, and like you said, some people can even fall into that, like the example that you gave of someone who's like, I have this skill, and so I started selling it, and now here I am. So that does happen too, but just having intention and alignment with all of the things that you're doing in business is always going to serve you. And so just remembering that you're a human, that there's seasons, that you need to rest, that you need to protect you because you're the biggest asset in your business. That's going to be really good. There are seasons where we might feel like we're kind of burning out. And Karen and I talk about energy mapping for ourselves during the day, during the month, during the different actual physical seasons. That's common, but like these people who are like, I'm going to burn it all down, I think those are the ones that the goalpost just kept moving. It was as extrinsic, right? They wanted other people to be like, whoa, he or she is so successful. Look at her new car. Look at her new house. Look at how many employees she has. And we're saying, like, you don't have to do that. You can make 7 figures and be a company of one. That's what Karen and I want. We want more people because that's our vision. Our vision is to have these businesses that serve us and help us to serve others. And the less stress you have, the less like internal stress that you're putting on yourself to reach a fake goal, the better. Yeah. Okay. And those weekend intensives, I'm right there with you, Karen. We're going to do that together.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think you're right. Like the internal pressure to meet external or made up or someone else's goal is so real. And so you'll stay in this push energy and this hustle grind energy, trying to do things that you think you should do because you see other people doing them or some coach told you to do it or whatever it is. And it's not really, you're doing a lot. You're doing a lot of stuff, but you don't have the direction, the clarity, the vision that's grounding you. If you don't have the structure, like Marcia said, using your tools. I mean, there's so many tools now to streamline and simplify and automate and really have solid structure in your business so that you can be able to scale it, because you cannot scale chaos. And we will talk about that later. I get so passionate about that subject. I've seen a lot of chaotic businesses and they're making lots of money, by the way. You could be in chaos and still be making money. So you might not immediately recognize the chaos as a problem, because if your business is doing well, again, and you could not immediately recognize the hustle grind energy that you're staying in as a problem because your business is doing well. But that's the thing we're trying to say, is that the action, the motion that you're doing, that you're in, might not be the right motion. It might not be aligned motion. That's why it's just so important to take a moment. Sometimes you do have to slow down to speed up. I mean, and that's okay too. Like sometimes you have to take a moment. We do it every 90 days when we do our planning for our quarters. You have to just take a minute to slow down so that you can speed up, but with intention and with ease, not with hustle and grind.
I'll put a plug in for the Success Secret Society. It's a group of women, business owners. We have these constant check-ins. We meet 2 times a month. Back in the summer, someone was talking about, this hasn't happened. This was being pushed back, and my expectation was to have this delivered by now. And then we were like, but look at what's happening in your personal life right now. Like, is that actually good timing? So it was just a way for her to get it out of her mind and spirit, like this disappointment with the contractor, but also to understand the timing's not in alignment. Having that community of support where you can share things like, I was thinking of focusing on this, and you might just get a question that's like, okay, how is that directly going to impact your business? And then, and then you might realize, like, oh, I don't need to be testing with this. Anyway, so check out successsecretsociety.club and apply to be a member. We would love to have you and help you with keeping your momentum going.
Hey, friend, loving this combo?
Then don't keep it to yourself.
Hit that follow button so you never miss an episode. And if you're feeling extra generous,
Leave us a quick review. It helps more women find the show, and it honestly means the world to us.
and we really want to connect beyond the podcast. So come say hi on social.